Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 21st of September, now it's 1 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment. But before I start, let me share with you information about yesterday's live stream on my channel. That was a third live stream, by the way, kind of testing live stream that allows me to gain some experience in live streaming so that I will get better prepared for better prepare myself to invite guests at some point in the near future. And the main topic of yesterday's live stream was Nagorno-Karabakh crisis and the situation in Southern Caucasus region. In general, it was a very interesting conversation in real time with members of our community. And if you did not receive notification about this live stream, which is very much possible, and if you are interested, you can see this live stream on my page. It's only takes to click here on this category here, live, and you can see all three live streams, including yesterday's one. So it was very interesting. It was very interesting conversation. I'm thankful to everyone that did participate during that conversation. And now let's talk about news. And first of all, of course, I will share with you additional information about situation in Nagorno-Karabakh for this exact moment. So as I'm recording this update, we are receiving information that in settlement of Evlakh, which is in Azerbaijan, right now is a meeting have been held between representatives of Azerbaijani government and representatives of Armenian enclave in Nagorno-Karabakh local authorities, with participation of Russian peacekeepers. And well, at this point, probably nobody will argue if I will say that Azerbaijan did manage to achieve decisive victory when it comes to establishing control over constitutional control over the territories, Azerbaijani territories, and I guess Armenian side has no choice at this point other than agree on all the proposals from Baku. Baku is the capital of Azerbaijan, which includes, by the way, dismissal of this local government, and this and all the Armenian military units will be disarmed. I'm quite sure Russian side will do its best to make sure that Armenian population of Nagorno-Karabakh will be safe and secure, will receive all the necessary guarantees of safety from Azerbaijan if they will decide to stay in Nagorno-Karabakh, and some probably will, but I'm afraid majority of residents of Nagorno-Karabakh, majority of Armenian people will experience hardship of being refugee, and they will flee for Armenia and probably for Russia eventually. So right now, as I said, some negotiations have been held, and during the day, of course, we will receive some additional information, and of course, I will share that information on my Telegram, in the next updates. Yesterday, Azerbaijan already made statements that they have a plan in place of reintegration of Nagorno-Karabakh into Azerbaijan, into constitutional sphere of Azerbaijan, and they will be very, very fast to do so. I guess there are slight chance that Russian side will try to negotiate with Azerbaijan on behalf of Armenian population of Nagorno-Karabakh some sort of autonomy for Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh, but because of this history of confrontation and bloody, basically military conflict between the sides, it's highly unlikely that Baku will agree on political autonomy, although cultural autonomy probably will be reserved in Karabakh region for Armenians. But yet again, let's see how these negotiations will. And by the way, I did report on my Telegram page that there are some reports right now coming from different sources that Azerbaijani forces are continuing, despite the formal ceasefire, Azerbaijani forces are continuing to move forward deep inside Nagorno-Karabakh in direction of local settlements and cities. And the next information is from RIA Novosti. Pashinyan, Prime Minister of Armenia, did made a statement, and he reassured his supporters that he is not stepping down, which is which is not surprising. Which is not surprising, by the way. Pashinyan is a traitor of Armenian people. He's asset of CIA, 100%, by the way, no doubts about it. This individual, this criminal, is an asset of CIA. And I guess Washington did bribe all the militaries, high-ranking militaries in Armenia, or high-ranking officials in the security services, so that they would not act against Pashinyan. And without force, without real force, protesters in Armenia, people that are not happy with Pashinyan's betrayal of Armenian society, well, these protesters have no chance, really, without real force. And by the way, I did report yesterday, and I will report now, that there are some protests in different cities of Armenia, including Yerevan. By the way, people are expressing their frustration with what is happening in Nagorno-Karabakh, and with basically inaction of Armenia, but yet again, without force. I don't think these protesters will achieve anything at this point. They would not be able to remove Pashinyan from power. After all, it's not for nothing that US has biggest embassy in the world in Armenia, by the way. So just imagine how many CIA actives are working in US embassy, and how many high-ranking officials they already did buy in Armenia. So they are in full control of Armenia, by the way. US controls Armenia 100%. And unfortunately, at this point, it's only a matter of time when Pashinyan's government will begin step by step escalating, even further escalating with Russia, eventually demanding even withdrawal of Russian forces from Armenia. And this will happen. It will take time, but eventually Armenia will definitely lose Russia and Russia's support. And that road gonna be very difficult for Armenia, though. Very difficult. Let's continue, by the way. And TASS news agency is reporting that in the base of Russian peacekeepers in Nagorno-Karabakh at this moment, about 5,000 Armenian civilians have been gathered. They did receive all the necessary support from Russian peacekeepers, and of course they are safe in territory of Russian base. Yesterday I did share on my Telegram, and during the live stream also, video footage from Stepanakert airport. That's another place where Armenians are gathering, Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh, and waiting for secure passage from Karabakh to Armenia, because as I said, I'm quite sure majority of residents of Nagorno-Karabakh, Armenian residents of Nagorno-Karabakh, probably will flee for Armenia, and then most likely for Russia, because they're gonna find it extremely difficult to live in Armenia with the government that basically betrayed them all. Let's continue. And RIA Novosti, by the way, and all the other Russian media outlets did report yesterday that accident did occur with Russian peacekeepers. As I understand, Azerbaijani forces opened fire in direction of one of the cars, Russian peacekeepers' cars, and as a result of it, 2 Russian peacekeepers died. And it did not talk long. It did not talk long before Azerbaijani side apologize to Russia, and once they realized that it was Azerbaijani forces that did open fire, they did not hesitate and straight away apologize and send condolences to families of killed militaries and to Russia. And today we have statement from Aliyev. He is also apologizing for this tragic accident. He personally sent condolences to Putin and apologized for this incident. If Azerbaijan will act any other way, by the way, of death of peacekeepers is an act of war. And well, Russia will have all the means, all the legal means to act very differently. But once Azerbaijani side did realize, leadership of Azerbaijan did realize that it was Azerbaijani forces that was involved in that shooting, they did not hesitate and apologize straight away and acknowledge that tragic mistake. And by the way, this is when it comes to a situation in Nagorno-Karabakh. One may say Azerbaijan definitely did achieve decisive victory in this conflict that was prolonged for decades, by the way, since the late 80s. Conflict between Armenians and Azerbaijan is began in late 80s, even during the Soviet time, by the way, when Soviet Union was collapsing, in collapsing stage. And it's more than 3 decades, by the way. Sides were constantly in the military conflict, and I guess with the latest developments we can say that finally this conflict is becoming part of history, and Azerbaijan will establish full control over its territories, internationally recognized territories. Next, by the way, of course, situation in Ukraine, another conflict zone, and let me share with you a quick summary of the situation on the front line. But first of all, of course, I will share with you information about drone and missile strikes that Russia conducted during the previous night. It was a massive drone strike, by the way, in direction of against military and logistical infrastructure of Zelensky's regime all around Ukraine, by the way, all around Ukraine, including Kiev, Kharkiv, Lvov, and many other major cities in Ukraine. During the day, I'm quite sure Russian Defense Ministry will share with us additional information, and of course I will report about it on my Telegram and in the next updates. When it comes to situation on the front line itself, no significant changes anywhere on the front line. It's local scale skirmishes, recon operations, artillery duels, and the drone wars constantly. No breakthroughs on anyone side. Yesterday, by the way, I did share on my Telegram video footage of destroyed Ukrainian columns, and more such videos are appearing now on internet. Destroyed Ukrainian columns in Zaporozhye sector of the front line, because, as I said during the previous updates, battles in this Orekhov bridgehead activity intensity has significantly decreased, because Ukrainian forces are sending more and more troops, by the way, from all around the fronts. Whenever they can find some units, they are sending those units in direction of Orekhov bridgehead. And well, as time goes by, I believe, and those columns, by the way, are becoming Ukrainian armed columns are becoming constant target for Russian artillery and Russian front line aviation. That's why so many videos are appearing lately with destroyed Ukrainian armored columns. And well, as time goes by, I'm quite sure chances that Russian side will conduct major offensive in Orekhov bridgehead direction to encircle entire this Ukrainian grouping of forces are increasing, and before rainy season begins, we may see not Ukrainian second wave of counteroffensive that is expected by many, but we may see Russian offensive in this area, in Zaporozhye sector of the front line, maybe on some other sectors of the front line also, with the destruction of large grouping of forces of Ukrainian army, basically last reserves that Ukrainian army has. But overall, as I said, no significant changes on the front line. Nothing is happening that will influence any of the sector in immediate future. And let's continue, by the way, with some other news. And TASS news agency is reporting, based on statements from Russian Defense Ministry, that during the previous night, Ukrainian side did conducted at least try to conduct a large-scale drone strike in the direction of Crimea. And Russian Defense Ministry is reporting that 19 drones, Ukrainian drones, were shot down over the Black Sea when these drones were approaching Crimean Peninsula. No reports about any damage or casualties on the ground. So I guess all drones were shot down over the Black Sea. And also one drone was shot down in Belgorod region, one drone in Kursk region, and one drone in Oryol region of Russian Federation. Yet again, attempt from Ukrainian side to strike deep inside Russian territory, failed attempt, but this fact itself definitely demonstrates risks that Western so-called elites are willing to take while delivering to Zelensky and his associates long-range weapons, because it's obvious that they will use any means they have to strike deep inside Russian territory and to bring as much damage to Russian society or Russia as they possibly can. But let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that, and this is, by the way, very serious development, probably one of the major stories of these days is extremely fast deterioration of relationships between Poland and Ukraine. And we have now a statement from Prime Minister of Poland, Mateusz Morawiecki, who said that Poland will no longer supply Ukraine with military weapons. Ukraine will receive some weapons that was agreed before, but from now on, Poland will stop conducting negotiations about future deliveries of weapons. And Prime Minister of Poland went even far and said that if Ukraine will not stop acting hawkish towards Poland, then Warsaw may react in much stronger way. Basically, we are beginning to see what I was talking about for many months now. By the way, we are beginning to see open preparation, public preparation of the ground for incursion of Polish forces in Western Ukraine. To do so, of course, Warsaw needs reasoning and justification, and they are exactly preparing ground now and are creating these reasons and generating these reasons and justifications to enter Western Ukraine at some point in the future under whatever pretext, and to establish control over the territories that was part of Poland before Second World War. And of course, by the way, Poland would not be alone. Romania will, I'm quite sure, also participate in this operation to establish control over the western regions of Ukraine. And Hungary will also, I'm quite sure, take control over the Transcarpathia region where ethnic Hungarians are living historically, and that part of Western Ukraine is historically used to be Hungary, by the way. It's a Hungarian territories. And Slovakia also will probably participate. It depends if Slovakia and Hungary will find will deal some issues that they have, because both these states may have a claim on similar or on same territories at some areas of Western Ukraine. But in my understanding, we are beginning to see public preparation of the ground for involvement of Poland and some other NATO member states in this conflict to establish control over the western regions of that failed state. And as I said many times before, by the way, my reading of big picture is that when this conflict will end, eventually, Russia will control entire Ukraine with exception of western regions, which will be controlled by NATO member states. Poland, Hungary, Romania, and possibly Slovakia, and that's it. There will be no more Ukraine as a political entity, as a state on the political map. But let's continue. And by the way, in continuation of this topic, RIA Novosti is reporting that Polish Foreign Ministry did subpoena ambassador of Ukraine because of some critiques that are coming towards Poland from Zelensky. So as I said, by the way, we are, basically relationships between Ukraine and the Western, Eastern European states, Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, and Romania are deteriorating as we speak. Very fast. And this is, my reading is that this is definitely part of preparation of the ground for establishment of control over the western regions of Ukraine. But anyway, let's see. Time will tell. And by the way, this news is also quite interesting. RIA Novosti is reporting based on Spectator. Spectator is a media outlet, by the way, and analyst of this media outlet, Nigel Jones, did write that it's a shame for Germany that Ukraine refused to take Leopard 1 tanks and even send them back. And this is quite an interesting story, by the way, because Germany definitely ended up in quite awkward situation, because Ukraine made a statement that some Leopard 1 tanks that was delivered to Ukraine were unusable. They were broken, by the way. And as I understand, we are talking about some 10 tanks that were sent back to Germany, which is, by the way, when it comes to Leopard 1 tanks, this is very, very old tanks. It's these tanks were developed in 50s and 60s, by the way, of the previous century. And these tanks may be used on the front line as a kind of mobile artillery, like Russia, for example, uses T-55s, also old tanks, or T-62s. I mean, those tanks can be used as mobile artillery, and that's what Russia does. But Ukrainian militaries wanted to use these tanks, man, these very old tanks, on the front line, which is a huge mistake, by the way, huge mistake. If shell will explode even in 20 meters, artillery shell from this tank has such a bad protection and armor that fragments from 20 meters will probably penetrate this tank through. Shell will, not the shell, but fragment from the shell will probably go through entire tank, by the way. That's how bad protection on this tank is. So why Western world even consider to deliver these Leopard 1s, I don't understand. Especially because Ukrainian side was planning to use them on the front line as MBTs, as a main battle tanks, which is absolutely crazy though. But anyway, well, in this case, it's hard to disagree with Nigel Jones, this analyst of the Spectator, Germany definitely end up in awkward situation, and it's kind of shame on Germany that they send first of all these old weapons, and secondly weapons that are not even working. And Zelensky and his associates are now calling Germany for that, man. It's unbelievable. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that major bank issues warning over Germany's economy. We do have almost on daily basis now, by the way, the reports about crisis in German economy, and this time Goldman Sachs, one of the biggest name in banking sector, did made reports about Germany's economy. And let me read a few sentences. So Germany continues to grapple with the challenges in its manufacturing sector as it suffers from higher energy costs. Goldman Sachs economist Peter Oppenheimer told CNBC on Tuesday. Oppenheimer, well, a famous surname. Of course, you all are familiar with the Oppenheimer that was involved in building a US nuclear program, basically, and nuclear weapons. And EU's largest economy officially slipped into technical recession in the first quarter of the year, as GDP growth was revised from 0 to minus 0.3%. The Bundesbank announced on Monday that the economy is likely to shrink this quarter thanks to slow private consumption and increasing weakness of industry. Well, we all do understand. We are not maybe we are not financiers and experts in economical stuff, but well, once Germany did lost source of cheap energy by introducing sanctions on Russia and by destroying relationships with Russia. It was obvious, by the way. You don't have to be genius in economy to understand that if you are losing source of cheap energy, then you are in trouble. And that's exactly what is happening with Germany. And there are so many reports that German manufacturers are now forced to move their factories out of Germany because if they stay there, they will lose competitiveness. They would not be able to compete with other companies, for example, from North America or from Indo-Pacific region that do enjoy much cheaper energy. Let's continue. RT is also reporting that Moscow's unemployment is the lowest among G20 mega cities, which is well, quite good information. Unemployment rate in Russia is very low. It's on historic lows, by the way. If you want to work in Russia, you will definitely find the work without any significant problem. Well, let me read it for you. So Moscow had the lowest unemployment rate among major cities in G20 nations last year. Deputy Mayor of the Economic Policy Vladimir Efimov said on Tuesday the rate was calculated in accordance with the methods used by International Labour Organization. According to the ILO methodology, unemployment in Moscow at the end of 2022 dropped to 2.2% in comparison with the 2.6% in 2021. Well, as I said, by the way, unemployment in Russia is very low, and in Moscow also. Average unemployment all around Russia on federal scale is 3%, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around 3%. But Moscow, being megapolis and giving huge opportunities for businesses and for enterprises, different enterprises, of course, provides more jobs. Of course, provides more jobs to people, and well, good news, by the way. Good news. If I will be forced to looking for a job, by the way, I know that I will be able to find one in fairly short time. RT is reporting that Russian oil shipments spiked to 3 months high, and this is Bloomberg's report, by the way. So crude flow remains above 3.25 million barrels a day for 4 weeks straight. Tanker tracking data shows, well, once again, by the way, despite all this Western pressure, Western sanctions and so on, Russia is managing to stay strong. Russia's economy is managing to stay strong. Business is booming, basically. Russia is a major player, not just on energy market, but also on the market of food exports. Russia is basically major breadbasket of the world, and I believe it's only a matter of time, and many segments of Russian economy will also begin to play big role when it comes to foreign trade and when it comes to world market in general. And one more news, by the way, RT is reporting that China boosts Russian crude imports. No surprises here. So shipments surged by 25% from January to August. And this is a customs data, by the way. So let me read several sentences. Deliveries of Russian crude to China surged by 25% in the first 8 months of this year. In annual terms, data released by the Chinese General Administration of Customs on Wednesday showed oil shipments amounted to 71.2 million tons between January and August as Beijing took advantage of discounts and accelerate its stockpiling of Russian crude, according to figures. In terms of value, however, oil imports from Russia to China stood at 38.1 billion, marking a 4.1% decline compared to the same period last year. By the way, there may be some 4.1% decline in terms of money, but still Russia is selling oil even with discounts to China above this so-called Western price cap that was introduced to Russian oil. So Russia is still gaining money, by the way. And just recently I did report that Russian budget, by the way, did go to become surplus. So Russian budget now is receiving more money that it spends, a federal budget, which is also quite indicator that economy is doing quite okay, by the way. I'm not saying that Russia's economy is like a miracle or something like that. No, there are some difficulties, of course. After all, it's over 15,000 sanctions on Russia, so these sanctions cannot go unnoticed, entirely unnoticed, isn't it? But in general, Russian economy doing quite okay, and we do have on daily basis really informations reported that are confirming this. And this is it, by the way, for today's update. Quite short video, and hopefully you will find it interesting. Of course, I will stay online on Telegram, and I will update Telegram on regular basis. So if you want additional news, you can always check my Telegram. But if you find this video interesting, please click that like button and leave some commentary, by the way, because YouTube algorithm is doing some crazy stuff and suppressing this channel, I don't know, in extreme levels. Just imagine, by the way, 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken, we had some 7.5 thousand views on video, over 7,000 if I'm not mistaken, and yesterday's video had like 3.2 thousand views. So drop more than 50% in 2 days. Is it even possible? I mean, theoretically, when I did not lose subscribers, by the way. Subscribers are now more than 2 days ago, but views on videos dropped more than 50%. How? I don't know. YouTube is, of course, deleting views, deleting likes, unsubscribing, by the way, unsubscribing people. So please check, are you still subscribed on my channel? And if you are, and if you want to have a better chances that you will receive notification, please click that bell. And if you will click that bell, then it's you can choose all, so you will receive notifications about all updates that will be in this channel. YouTube algorithm definitely does some crazy stuff, man, and I don't know what to do with it. Only chance is to ask you for likes and comments to reach wider audience. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on any other platform that you are active on. And if you think this project with several channels is interesting, has some future, and deserves to exist, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.